Now it's time to look at two specific examples. The first example described a course that was designed based on the single loop learning. The second was based on the double loop learning concept. So let's look at the first course. The course is child development, and you can see it is a pretty large class. And one of the goals for this course is to integrate technology, particularly blog, into the course to enhance student learning. And the instructors designed a couple of strategies. For example, the instructors decide that blog posting should be continuous throughout the course. There is a required activity about blogging, and it was decided that all materials for the course should be open access. Additionally, the students were not restricted to the lecture topics when they write their blogs. The implementation actually was not very successful. From page 342, you will see most of the students were not familiar with the blogs, and they got confused and angry during the first introduction, and about 10% dropped the course. So that was a challenge. Also, a couple of students were complaining that they are here to learn about the subject matter content, not how to use blog. So that was a big complaint from that class. Additionally, students were reluctant to comment on each other's work. And when the teaching team tried to explain that the blog afforded them freedom to write what they found interesting, but it seemed difficult for students to accept this. After the first round of implementation, the instructors did a reflection. Their main conclusion was that the unsuccessful result was primarily through the single loop learning approach. Now I would like to pull my PowerPoint slide to explain a little bit. This is the process of the single loop learning. You identify the goal or a problem, and then you come up with some solution that directly address that problem without fundamentally addressing the root causes of that problem. In our case, the goal of those instructors is to successfully integrate the new technology into their classrooms, and the technology is blog. So what they did in the first round of implementation was just directly introduce that technology in their courses and require the students to use it in class. What is missing in this single loop process is that the instructors were not really examining the conditions and assumptions of their previous classroom. Therefore, when they introduce the new technology into their classroom, the technology itself is only considered as an independent component added to their classroom. The technology itself has the potential to change the structure and the dynamics of the classroom, but this potential impact is not carefully examined by the instructors. By contrast, in the double loop learning process, when you identify a goal or a problem, the next step is not to directly design a solution to that. Instead, you will be re-examine the current conditions and initial assumptions that you have. For example, if you continue to read the articles, you will see in the second round of implementation, those instructors started to challenge their own initial assumptions about traditional classrooms. For example, in a traditional classroom, the instructors often are taking the lead. The course topics are scheduled and planned by the instructor. Additionally, the curriculum content is often defined by the syllabus. So these are the fundamental assumptions of a traditional classroom. With the goal to introduce the new technology, the instructors started to think how the introduction of new technology would impact these conditions and assumptions of the classroom. And this process really enabled the instructors to understand the effects of new technology and understand that the new technology has great potential to redefine the classroom relationships, redefine the different roles in the classrooms, and even determine to some extent how and when the course topics are selected and addressed, or even how the curriculum content are covered. So after the careful analysis of the assumptions and the conditions of the traditional classroom, and after the careful evaluation of the potential impact of the new technology, the instructors decided that what they need was a course redesign instead of a simple introduction of a new technology. So in their second round of implementation, they restructured their course to be more learner-centered, and they used the blogging technology tool to promote sharing and interaction among the students, and use the technology tool to extend the discussions from in-class to outside classroom. Additionally, they will even expand their curriculum content by including the information and the knowledge shared by the students. So to compare the two different approaches again, in the single loop learning process, we're trying to design the solution that can directly address the problem we identified. In this approach, we are not examining the context or questioning our assumptions. So the solution is often unsuccessful because of the unintended consequences and changes, and because we are not addressing the problem systemically. In the double loop learning process, in order to address the problem, we are first trying to understand the fundamental nature of that problem by examining the assumptions and the conditions of the context. And we will challenge these initial assumptions and conditions by asking questions like, can these assumptions be changed, or should these assumptions be changed? So this type of analysis allowed us to understand the nature of the problem and enabled us to design a solution that can address the problem at a more fundamental level.